and she really encouraged me to start looking outward and said, you know, I have a friend that works at IBM. They have these great internships. Look into it. And they had a local sales and marketing office there in Tacoma, and I was able to get a paid internship. And so I worked the second half of my junior year and all of my senior year and a little bit after my senior year working at IBM. Well, the whole idea of computers was just totally foreign to me. In my business major, I managed to take one computer programming class, and that was basic on the VAX. I mean, so it was, but that's okay. You know, I could do email and I could do some of the things that they did, and I was mostly a marketing assistant, and it was fun. But I finished, and I wanted to go back to my dream of fashion. And more than that, I wanted to facilitate moving from Olympia to Seattle. And so I went to work in retail, and I went to work at Frederick & Nelson, and I just worked selling for the Christmas season. But I loved it, and I got wrapped up in that, and then I was going to fulfill my dream, not being a designer, but being a buyer. And I worked on that for a couple of years and realized that it was a lot more work than the return. There wasn't very much money. The hours were bad. 16, you know, all those one day sale at Bon Marché, those happen. 16-hour sales really happen on every month, and you work 16 hours. And I decided that maybe that wasn't for me. And at that time, I had a husband working at Microsoft and sold me back on software. He said, you've got this experience. You've got to go into software. And I said, well, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that. And so I went to work for a company called Egghead Software. And at the time, it was predominantly the retail organization. You might have remembered the stores. A lot of you probably don't remember. But I went to work for the corporate government and education sales group. We were a field sales organization, and we sold software along with peripherals and represented everything. The good thing about Egghead was it was headquartered here, and we had the best accounts. We had the very best accounts, and I loved it. I got to go out and talk to customers, and it was the Nordstrom and the Boeing and the Weyerhaeuser. It was fun. It was exciting. And then we decided to open up an international sales division because we had these U.S. multinationals that wanted to purchase globally on behalf of all of their global subsidiaries, and how could they leverage their U.S. dollar to do that? Well, we'll go to Europe and open a call center for you, which was a little bit short-sighted on the part of Egghead, but for me it was a great opportunity, and so I still got to do some of those great European trips, and it was fabulous, and that was very fun, and I did that for about 6 years, and that whole aligning yourself for success. What I want to say here is this is where I learned too, and you've heard me talk about some of the examples, and I mean this not only in the business and the networking perspective, but as very important. Make sure you seek out people not just that can do something for you, but that help you become successful. Maybe they share your ideas. Maybe they're a good sounding board for you. Maybe they have very valuable feedback. Maybe they do know somebody that eventually could do something for you. Maybe it's people you can do something for. You know, there's a lot of value in that, and never look past an opportunity to help somebody if it's doing the right thing, if you have something to offer and you can do it, because it's always, those things are always going to come back in business, and it's a very small world. It's almost daily at Microsoft and that I meet people that I've worked with, 10, 12 years ago, and, I haven't been in the business world that long, but I mean, it's that small of a world, and those are people that are going to want to help you back out later. But it's more than that. It's with family. I'm lucky I had, my extended family, my folks that were extremely supportive, but having, a partner or a sister, anybody, your family, your friends. And then I have community. I, for a while, lived in a very small community that was almost entirely stay-at-home moms, and I was the one working mom, and, it made me feel bad because there was a lot of, it was such a difference, and it was, oh, when do you think you'll get to quit your job and stay home? And I thought, I don't want to quit my job and stay home, I'm happy. And, and it really, I was able to move more in the neighborhood now of where I work, and, it's done so much more to have common interest and just to be able to be surrounded by people that are supportive. And I think in general, you really want to align yourself for success. There's so many people out there in all of your community, family, friends, workplace. There's going to be people that are going to be supportive, and just make sure you're spending your time with those people. So I'm at Egghead, and it's great. And I had a couple opportunities that really scared the pants off of me, but I did them. And some of those were, going to a country where I didn't speak the language by myself. I arrived for the first time in Brussels with 0 luggage, due at Merck, which was about an hour away, and didn't even know how to communicate, you know, the pantyhose size I needed to the front desk to get those from the gift shop. But, you know, somehow struggled through it, did that. Probably the most intimidating experience I had at that point was when Egghead opened up a joint subsidiary with a company called Egghead Uchida Yoko, and it became Egghead Uchida in Japan. And I was going to go over and provide training to their sales force on the Egghead way. And that was fine. I was very comfortable. I knew how we did things in the U.S., and I've been doing them for a long time. So I was fine with that. And fortunately, their culture is so hospitable. I mean, I was met at Narita with my host, and he drove me on a Sunday to my hotel and said, I'll be here to pick you up at 8. And he did, and that was great. So logistically, it wasn't too challenging. Scary. But what was challenging is my first day when I went in to open up my training materials and meet the sales force, they said, oh, first, we're taking you on an appointment. Now, I hadn't seen one Caucasian woman walking down the streets, and I had all these preconceptions of, you know, I was, at the time, you know, I was young, and, you know, I just was very nervous to be going actually out on an appointment and representing our business. And they did. They took me to American Express and Time Warner, and what I found was, because what they wanted to talk about were things that I knew like the back of my hand. It was the business we had going on in the States. They wanted to learn. And, you know, once I relaxed and was able to talk about it, it was an experience that I was able to really grow from. And not only from, oh, I've had this specific opportunity, but just knowing that, you know, a lot of things that seem really intimidating are really growth experiences, and you might end up even loving that type of thing. You know, public speaking is one of them. I don't know what the thresholds are, but the point where I went, I think probably from like a normal room size of like classroom 30 to 40 to a large audience, that was huge. But these are the types of opportunities that I would really encourage you to stretch for and meet. So I went to, how I started at Microsoft, I have this bullet informational interviews, was a lot of, again, that reaching out to people that are out there that you have this high regard for, was I made a call into a general manager that I had a referral to at Microsoft and just asked to learn about the business. And I found, you know, most people who knew that, they're extremely gracious and generous with their time. And that was how I started at Microsoft. That was about 5 years ago, and I started doing sales management and have moved into this director sales role, and I'm absolutely loving it. What I find, and that what I would encourage people to do, that why I would say I love Microsoft and come to Microsoft, is their core values that we live every day really align with a lot of things we've been talking about. Taking big challenges, integrity and honesty, open and respectfulness, accountability, the passion and self-criticalness. And again, a lot of those things align well to what I think our goals as women in the workplace are. And some of the specifics we have at Microsoft that I wanted to point out are, like I mentioned, this annual conference is fabulous. We have the Hoppers Diversity Group, which is a very strong networking alliance. It's actually part of, there's a national Hoppers organization. We have very formal mentoring as well as informal mentoring. Leadership development, we call it the bench. And this is something that I would say not only at Microsoft, that at a lot of organizations, that if you get in and you're finding that you really like that organization and you're wanting to move up, most companies will have this, whether it's very publicly made aware of or not. And I would do inquiries, and again, we informally call it the bench, and it's people that have stepped up and say, I want to take on some additional leadership opportunities and be identified as candidate material for going into executive positions. So that's where I am and my history, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I look forward to your questions.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Wow, I'm really amazed. And I hope we're going to open the floor up now for you to ask questions of our panelists, and you can direct them to any specific panelist or any of the four that are here. Yes.